Have you ever wondered why some people leave your mind the moment they walk away, while others stay burning inside your heart, impossible to forget? There is a secret to being unforgettable, and it isn't luck, it isn't beauty, and it isn't charm. It's about presence, energy, and the way you plant yourself inside someone's thoughts so deeply that even silence becomes loud. The truth is, every human being longs for connection, but most settle for attention. Attention fades, connection lingers. If you want to be the person they miss so badly that your absence feels like a void, you must understand how to shift the power of memory in your favor. Right now, think about the times you've missed someone so deeply it hurt. What created that ache wasn't their constant presence, but the space they left behind. Missing is born in absence, not in endless availability. Yet here's where most people go wrong. They believe being more present, more giving, more available will secure them a place in someone's life. But the opposite is true. The more you give without balance, the easier it is for others to take you for granted. What's abundant becomes ordinary. What's rare becomes priceless. You become unforgettable not by always being there, but by being present with such intensity that even when you're gone, the echo of your presence fills the silence. Missing is psychological. It's the brain's way of seeking what it cannot immediately have. When you create contrast between presence and absence, you awaken desire. Imagine a favorite song you play on repeat. Eventually you stop hearing it. But when you step away, let time pass, and then return to it, the song feels fresh again. People work the same way. Constant exposure dulls impact. Strategic distance sharpens longing. If you want them to miss you, don't crowd their space. Expand it. Leave room for their mind to wander toward you, for their heart to notice your absence, and for their emotions to crave your return. But this isn't about manipulation. This is about becoming the kind of person whose energy is so powerful, whose authenticity is so magnetic that when you are not around, it feels like something essential is missing. You don't achieve this by pretending or playing games. You achieve it by showing up fully when you are present, by giving your attention, your energy, your laughter, your strength without holding back, by making every interaction with you feel alive. Then, when you step away, that absence becomes amplified because you have created a high standard of connection. They don't just miss your face. They miss the way you made them feel. Stay with this message because what you're about to discover in the journey ahead is not just about making others miss you. It's about unlocking a deeper power within yourself. It's about shifting from chasing validation to commanding respect. It's about moving from being overlooked to being unforgettable. If you can master this principle, you won't just be someone they think about occasionally. You'll be the one who lingers in their mind at night, the one they measure others against, the one they long to have back. And that is the power you're about to claim. Think about this. When someone truly leaves an imprint on your life, it's not because they said all the right words, but because they carried themselves in a way that made you feel something rare. People don't miss perfection. They miss authenticity. They miss the raw, unpolished truth of a person who dares to be real in a world full of masks. If you want to be the one they can't stop thinking about, you must learn the art of showing up as your fullest self, without apology, without dilution. The reason this matters is simple. The human heart craves honesty. We are wired to respond to what feels genuine because it cuts through the noise of surface level connections and reaches something deeper inside. When you try to impress, you fade. When you try to please, you vanish. But when you express your truth without fear, you carve your place in memory. This is how longing is created. People miss what they cannot easily replace. And nothing is more irreplaceable than a person who is unapologetically themselves. Every time you speak with conviction, every time you carry yourself with quiet confidence, every time you honor your values even when it's difficult, you are writing yourself into the story of someone else's life in a way that cannot be erased. They may not always realize it in the moment, but absence will reveal it. When you are gone, the weight of your authenticity will echo in the silence you leave behind. Psychology tells us that scarcity creates value, but it is not enough to simply pull back and hope to be missed. Scarcity without substance is emptiness. You can disappear, but if you never made an impact when you were present, your absence means nothing. This is why you must focus on building depth when you are in their world. Ask questions that make them think. Listen with full attention as if every word they say matters. Create moments that are rich in emotion, even in simple interactions. When you do this, you set a standard of connection so rare that when you step away, they fill the gap instantly. They don't just notice you're gone, they notice the dullness that replaces you. There is immense power in contrast. Your presence must be vivid, your absence must be noticeable. That is how missing is born. When you give them your focus, let it be so sharp that they feel seen like never before. When you give them your time, let it feel meaningful, not routine. When you share your energy, let it be so alive that they remember it long after you leave. And then, without warning, withdraw. Not in anger, not in games, but in quiet self-respect, in the discipline of knowing your worth. That silence will scream louder than any words you could have spoken. That distance will turn ordinary attention into aching desire. This is where your power lies, not in chasing, not in begging to be remembered, but in becoming so deeply rooted in who you are that your absence demands to be felt. When you embody this balance, intensity and presence, discipline and absence, you transform yourself into someone unforgettable. And when you become unforgettable, missing you isn't just possible, it's inevitable. There is a reason the most magnetic people in the world are remembered long after they leave the room. It is not because they filled every moment with noise or tried to dominate every conversation. It is because they carried a sense of self that could not be ignored. They radiated confidence without arrogance, presence without desperation. To make someone miss you deeply, you must first understand that energy is contagious. The emotions you carry within yourself are the emotions you transfer to others. If you move through life with emptiness, others will feel it. But if you walk with strength, certainty, and inner peace, people will crave that energy when it is gone. Missing is not about the surface details of who you are. It is not about the way you look, the car you drive, or the words you choose. It's about how you make people feel. The human brain is wired to prioritize emotional memory over logical memory. Long after they forget what you said, they will remember the way you made them feel about themselves. This is why the greatest power you have is not in performance, but in presence. If your presence lifts, heals, and ignites something inside another person, your absence becomes a weight they cannot easily bear. But this requires self-mastery. You cannot make others miss you if you have not yet learned to value your own essence. Too many people try to fill others before they fill themselves, and in doing so, they drain their energy and weaken their impact. When you operate from scarcity within, you become forgettable. When you operate from abundance within, you become magnetic. This is why discipline, self-respect, and growth are non-negotiable. The stronger you become inside, the stronger the mark you leave outside. When you know your worth deeply, you do not beg to be remembered. You naturally become unforgettable. There is a quiet power in restraint. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every presence needs to be constant. The mystery of your silence, the strength in your distance, and the discipline to hold back creates space for curiosity. And curiosity is the seed of missing. When someone cannot predict your every move, when they cannot fully decode your mind, when they feel you but cannot fully grasp you, they begin to wonder. And wondering is the beginning of longing. You must learn to master the balance of openness and mystery. Give enough to spark connection, but hold enough to inspire desire. This balance cannot be fake. Pretending to be distant without substance creates emptiness. Playing games without depth leads only to frustration. True power comes from alignment. Showing up fully when you choose to give, then stepping back with dignity when it is time to withdraw. This rhythm of presence and absence creates a cycle that makes people feel alive when they are with you and restless when they are not. They will look for you in silence, search for you in memory, and ache for your return. When you embody this truth, you no longer have to force anyone to miss you. You no longer have to chase or manipulate. You simply live with such authenticity, strength, and presence that your absence becomes undeniable. And in that space, they will realize that what you offer was not ordinary. It was rare, it was powerful, and it is gone. That realization alone will make them miss you more deeply than words could ever express. When you strip away all the noise, the truth is clear. People only miss what they believe they cannot easily replace. This is why blending in, copying others, or shrinking yourself to fit in will never make you unforgettable. The world forgets replicas. The world remembers originals. To make someone miss you so deeply that the thought of you lingers in their quietest moments, you must first dare to stand apart. Authenticity is rare. Individuality is scarce. And scarcity, as psychology teaches us, is what fuels value. The moment you embrace your uniqueness instead of hiding it, you begin to set yourself apart from the countless faces that pass through someone's life unnoticed. Most people spend their lives seeking approval, bending their edges to fit the expectations of others. But approval is cheap and it never secures lasting memory. Respect is different. Respect stays. When you live aligned with your principles, when you walk into a room carrying your truth without asking for permission, you do more than capture attention. You anchor yourself into their perception as someone different. And difference is unforgettable. You do not need to be louder, funnier, or more attractive than anyone else. You need only to be undeniably yourself, and that self will echo in the silence when you are gone. The mind clings to contrast. Imagine how much more a whisper means after silence, or how much more powerful light feels after darkness. The same principle applies to presence. If you are predictable, if you show up in the same way everyone else does, your absence carries little weight. But when you bring something rare, whether it is your wisdom, your calmness, your vision, or your unshakable energy, you create contrast. And when you are no longer there, that contrast magnifies. They notice the emptiness. They recognize the void. They feel the shift. That awareness is what transforms ordinary memory into longing. But understand this, being unforgettable is not about trying to prove your worth. It is about living in such alignment with who you are that your worth is undeniable. The more you focus on impressing, the more you weaken your presence. The more you focus on expressing your truth, the stronger your presence becomes. This is why discipline, growth, and self-respect are crucial. They allow you to stand firmly in your uniqueness without apology. And when you stand firmly in who you are, you leave behind an energy that others cannot replicate or replace. Missing is not a decision, it is a reaction. It is the mind and heart noticing something that once brought meaning and now is absent. The deeper the meaning you create, the deeper the missing becomes. To achieve this, you must ask yourself, what do I give that no one else can? What truth, what energy, what perspective flows from me alone? When you find that answer and live it boldly, you turn yourself into a memory they cannot silence. This is not about being everything for everyone. It is about being irreplaceable to the ones who cross your path. When you live authentically, when you offer depth, when you embody uniqueness, your absence will echo louder than presence ever could. That echo is the sound of longing, and it will follow them everywhere until the thought of you becomes impossible to escape. The power to be missed begins with the way you respect yourself when no one is watching. Self-respect is not a performance, it is a standard. It is the quiet decision to never beg for love, to never chase validation, to never diminish your own value just to keep a place in someone's life. The paradox is that the more you lower yourself to be accepted, the easier you are to forget. But the moment you stand tall, the moment you set boundaries, the moment you declare with your actions that you are worthy of respect, you become unforgettable. People cannot help but miss those who refuse to be treated as ordinary. The human mind is wired to crave what it cannot fully possess. When you hand over every piece of yourself with no restraint, you remove the mystery, the challenge, the chase. There is no room for imagination, no space for desire to grow. But when you know your worth and protect it with discipline, you create scarcity, and scarcity ignites value. A person who respects themselves carries an aura that lingers long after they leave. Their absence feels heavy because their presence carried weight. This is why setting boundaries is not selfish, it is powerful. It creates the contrast that turns your presence into a rare experience. Think about how often people give too much too quickly, believing it will guarantee closeness. Yet psychology proves the opposite. Overexposure breeds indifference. Familiarity without balance kills excitement. To be missed, you must master the rhythm of giving and holding back. Show your life fully when you choose to, but step back before it becomes taken for granted. This discipline requires courage because it means trusting that your value does not need constant proving. It means being willing to walk away rather than lowering your standard. And it is exactly this courage that makes you unforgettable. When you respect yourself, you communicate a message without words. I am not afraid of being alone. That energy is magnetic because most people are driven by fear of abandonment. But when you show you are complete with or without anyone else, your presence becomes a privilege, not a guarantee. And privileges are always remembered. People miss what they cannot control. They long for what they cannot demand. By standing firm in your worth, you create this effect naturally. You stop begging to be in their thoughts, and instead you become the thought that won't leave. This shift is internal before it is external. If you want to be missed, you must first live in a way that you would miss yourself if you stepped away. Fill your life with growth, with discipline, with passion, with purpose. Build an inner world so rich that when others get a glimpse of it, they feel fortunate. And when that glimpse is gone, they cannot help but want it back. You are not remembered for how desperately you held on to others. You are remembered for how firmly you held on to yourself. The truth is, longing is not created by chasing attention. It is created by standing in your strength so clearly that when you are absent, the silence carries your presence louder than any words. Respect yourself deeply, and the world will learn to do the same. And when you walk away, that respect transforms into missing because they know they have experienced something rare. And rare things are never forgotten. The essence of being missed is not only in the boundaries you set, but in the energy you bring when you are present. People remember intensity, not routine. They remember the spark, the moments that felt alive, the emotions that stirred something deep within them. If your presence feels dull, predictable, or half-hearted, your absence will carry no weight. But when you pour life into every moment you share, when you bring focus, passion, and energy into every interaction, you create memories that refuse to fade. Missing is the byproduct of impact. The stronger your impact, the stronger the ache when it is gone. The psychology of emotion teaches us that highs and lows shape memory. The brain does not store every detail equally. It clings to moments of intensity. Think about the time someone made you feel truly seen, truly valued, or deeply challenged. Those are the moments that stick. That is the power you must learn to harness. When you are fully engaged, when you give undivided attention, when you speak with conviction, you leave behind emotional peaks. And when you step away, those peaks become sharp reminders of what is no longer there. This is why being half present never works. Indifference leaves no mark. Full presence creates lasting memory. But intensity is not about being dramatic. It is about being real. It is about listening in a way that makes someone feel they matter. It is about speaking with a tone that carries certainty. It is about standing in silence without needing to fill it with empty words, because your energy speaks louder. When you embody this kind of intensity, you do not fade into the background. You carve your existence into someone's mind. And once carved, it cannot be easily erased. Too often, people underestimate the power of their own presence. They walk into rooms distracted, carry conversations with divided attention, and give pieces of themselves rather than their whole. But when you decide that every time you show up, you will do so with power, something changes. You become unforgettable, not because you force it, but because you choose to live at a higher level of awareness. This choice alone separates you from the majority, because most people never give their full selves. They exist in fragments, but fragments are forgettable. Wholeness is not. Missing is tied to contrast. Your energy must stand out so vividly that when it is gone, everything else feels muted. When you are with someone, brings so much clarity, warmth, or strength that when you leave, the absence feels unnatural. Let them compare every other interaction to what you brought, and let every comparison fall short. That gap between what they experience with you and what they experience without you is what fuels longing. And the deeper the gap, the harder it is to silence the thought of you. This is why you must never wear yourself down. Do not dim your light to fit in. Do not shrink to make others comfortable. The world does not miss what blends in. It misses what stands out. Live with such intensity that your presence is impossible to ignore and your absence is impossible to forget. When you commit to this level of authenticity, you no longer wonder whether you will be remembered. You know you will, because your energy is rare, your impact is deep, and what is rare and deep can never be replaced. The deeper truth about being missed is that it has less to do with others and more to do with the relationship you build with yourself. When you fill your own life with meaning, passion, and growth, you radiate a different kind of energy. People are drawn to those who are fulfilled because fulfillment is rare. Most live in cycles of emptiness, chasing distractions that never satisfy. But when you are anchored in purpose, when your life has direction, When you are not waiting for anyone else to complete you, you become magnetic. And when you step away, the emptiness of others feels amplified in contrast to the fullness you carry. This is why chasing attention never works. The more you beg to be noticed, the more invisible you become. But when you move through the world already whole, already driven, already alive, people cannot help but notice. They feel the difference. They see that you are not dependent on their validation, and that independence makes them crave you even more. It creates a paradox. The less you need to be missed, the more you are missed, because people hunger for the kind of strength they cannot easily find within themselves. Psychology reveals that humans are drawn to what they perceive as scarce and valuable. A fulfilled person who lives with passion is both. When your life is rich with meaning, you do not need to convince anyone of your worth. Your actions speak it. Your energy proves it. Your discipline shows it. And when that kind of presence disappears, it leaves a void too deep to ignore. People do not just miss you. They miss the way your existence challenged them to rise higher. But here's the key. You cannot fake fulfillment. Pretending to live with purpose while secretly feeling empty will not create the same effect. People sense authenticity. They feel when energy is real and when it is forced. That is why your first responsibility is to yourself. Build a life that excites you. Commit to growth. Pursue goals that matter. Live in alignment with your values. The more alive you are in your own journey, the more unforgettable you become in the journeys of others. When you embody this, you shift from seeking to be remembered to naturally being unforgettable. You stop waiting for others to fill the gaps in your soul and instead become the person who fills their own. And it is exactly that wholeness that others long for when you are gone. They don't just miss your presence. They miss the way your presence awakens something dormant inside of them. They miss the reminder that life can be lived with passion, with purpose, with strength. This is where your power lies, not in being everything to everyone, but in being so completely yourself that your absence feels like a silence too loud to ignore. People will chase distractions, but distractions fade. They will search for comfort, but comfort grows dull. What they will always miss is the person who carried a rare fire. Be that fire. Live so fully that your presence becomes unforgettable and your absence becomes unbearable. And when you do, you will never have to wonder if you are missed. You will know it because the energy you leave behind will echo louder than your words ever could. There is a silent strength in knowing when to step back. Presence creates impact, but absence creates desire. Most people try to hold on too tightly, afraid that distance will make them forgotten. But the truth is the opposite. When you learn the discipline of pulling away, you teach others the value of your presence. Absence creates space, and in that space, emotions grow stronger. The human mind begins to replay memories, searching for the energy that once filled the moment. That replay is what turns ordinary interactions into longing. The psychology of desire is built on tension. If everything is given instantly, it loses power. If every moment is predictable, it loses excitement. But when you create contrast, when you give fully and then withdraw gracefully, you build a rhythm that keeps you unforgettable. The brain craves patterns that rise and fall, not flat lines. Your absence is the downward note that makes your presence feel like a powerful crescendo. Without that contrast, you are taken for granted. With it, you become unforgettable. But withdrawal must come from strength, not games. It must come from the deep knowing that your worth is not tied to constant visibility. When you step back with intention, you are not rejecting others. You are honoring yourself. That self-honor speaks louder than words. It communicates confidence, control, and self-respect. And those qualities are magnetic. People do not miss what clings to them. They miss what stands tall on its own. Think about how quickly the constant becomes invisible. The sunrise is breathtaking, yet most people rarely notice it because it happens every day. But take it away and suddenly its absence will shake the world. Your presence must work the same way. Be so consistent in your strength, your passion, your authenticity, that when you choose to step back, the absence feels unnatural. This is the paradox. Consistency and presence combined with discipline and absence creates the deepest desire. It is tempting to fear that distance will weaken bonds. But fear-driven closeness is not closeness at all. It is dependency. What truly deepens connection is respect. And respect grows when people realize they do not own you, they cannot control you, and they cannot have you on demand. That realization makes your presence more valuable. That scarcity fuels longing. You are not withholding to punish, but to preserve the sacredness of your energy. When you master this, you no longer chase to be remembered. You become the one they remember even in silence. They will replay the moments you gave. They will crave the energy you carried, and they will feel the gap you left. Missing you becomes automatic because the absence of something rare is always noticed. And the rarer you become, the stronger that longing grows. So do not fear stepping back. Do not fear the silence. Within the silence, your presence expands. Within the space, your energy multiplies. And within that absence, you carve a deeper place in their memory than constant presence ever could. When you learn this balance, you shift from being someone who is convenient to someone who is unforgettable. And once unforgettable, missing you is not a choice. It is inevitable. The most unforgettable people are those who carry a sense of mystery within them. Not because they hide who they are, but because they never feel the need to reveal everything at once. Mystery is not about secrecy, it is about depth. When you reveal every detail of yourself immediately, there is no discovery left, no curiosity to feed, no reason for others to lean closer. But when you live with layers, when you reveal yourself gradually, when you allow people to see pieces of you over time, you create intrigue. And intrigue is the root of longing. The human mind is drawn to what it cannot fully understand. Curiosity is a powerful psychological trigger. And when you embody it, you plant yourself in someone's thoughts long after you're gone. If they believe they have fully figured you out, their interest fades. But when you carry yourself with a depth that invites exploration, their mind lingers on you, replaying conversations, searching for the meaning behind your silence, and wondering what else lies beneath the surface. That wondering becomes missing. It is the quiet ache of not having enough, the restless desire for more. But this does not mean you should play games or pretend to be someone you are not. Authentic mystery is created not by holding back truth, but by living a life so rich that it cannot be explained in one moment. When you pursue growth, knowledge, and experiences, you naturally create depth. When you have passions, when you chase your purpose, when you live with vision, you become a person who cannot be summed up in a single glance. And it is that richness that creates an energy others want to keep discovering. The greatest mistake people make is overexposing themselves too quickly, giving every thought, every story, every emotion without pause. This does not build closeness, it breeds familiarity. And familiarity without balance dulls desire. To make someone miss you, you must embrace patience. Allow the connection to unfold. Let them earn the layers of who you are. Give them enough to feel alive in your presence, but hold enough back to keep them hungry for more. It is not about withholding love or warmth. It is about pacing the experience so that your presence never loses its spark. This principle is echoed in every area of life. Art is powerful not because it shows everything, but because it leaves space for interpretation. Music moves us not only through the notes played, but also through the silence between them. In the same way, you become unforgettable by leaving space for others to wonder, to imagine, to long for the parts of you they have not yet seen. Your depth becomes the canvas their mind cannot stop painting, even in your absence. When you embody mystery through authenticity, you stop competing for attention. You no longer need to demand to be remembered. You become remembered naturally because curiosity will not let your image fade. And when you step away, that unfinished story in their mind will pull them back to you. They will miss not only what they experienced, but what they still feel remains undiscovered. That sense of incompleteness creates longing that time cannot erase. And this is how mystery turns presence into memory and memory into desire. What makes someone unforgettable is not only what they keep hidden, but also the undeniable standard they carry in how they live. People are drawn to those who demand excellence from themselves because it reflects strength and discipline. When you hold yourself to a higher level, when you refuse to settle for mediocrity, you radiate an energy that commands respect. And when that energy is no longer present, people feel the loss. They miss the inspiration, the push, the silent reminder that they too could rise higher. Human psychology is deeply influenced by modeling. We learn not only from what people say, but from how they live. When you live with discipline, when you commit to growth, when you show up with consistency, you are not just living for yourself. You are impacting everyone who comes near you. Your presence becomes a mirror, reflecting back to them their own potential. That reflection is powerful because most people do not see it often. And when you step away, the absence of that reflection leaves a void. They do not just miss you. They miss the way you made them believe in more. But understand this truth. People cannot miss what is ordinary. They miss what is rare. And what is rare in this world is self-mastery. Most are controlled by distractions, by impulses, by emotions they never learned to harness. But when you live in control of yourself, when you move with clarity instead of chaos, when you embody calm strength instead of fear, you set yourself apart. That separation is what makes you unforgettable, because in a world where most follow the crowd, you become the exception, and exceptions are never forgotten. This does not mean you must be flawless. In fact, perfection is not what people long for. They long for realness combined with progress. They long for the presence of someone who is not stagnant, someone who chooses growth, even in difficulty, someone who refuses to stay small. When you carry this energy, you inspire, and inspiration leaves deep marks on memory. The absence of inspiration is heavy because it leaves others face to face with their own stagnation. That weight makes them crave the presence of the one who lifted them higher. To be missed is to become a standard. You become the one others compare experiences to. You become the measure against which they test new connections, new interactions, new relationships. And when those fall short, as they often do, they are reminded of you. This is the power of embodying excellence. You don't have to fight to be remembered. Your standard remembers you for them. So raise your level. Do not live halfway and expect to be unforgettable. Do not wait for others to value you while you refuse to value yourself. Every time you show discipline, every time you choose strength over weakness, every time you take a step toward growth, you are sharpening your presence. And when your presence is sharp, your absence cuts even deeper. That is when people miss you, not because you asked to be missed, but because they cannot help it. Your standard spoke louder than words, and now the silence left behind echoes with your power. To be truly missed, you must embody a presence that gives without attachment. Most people give in order to receive. Attention for attention, love for love, energy for energy. But the deepest impact comes when you give freely, without conditions, without desperation, without the need for anything in return. That kind of giving is rare, and rarity carves itself into memory. When someone experiences your presence as a gift rather than a transaction, they do not forget it. And when that gift is no longer there, the emptiness of its absence becomes undeniable. Human beings are wired to feel contrast most strongly when they lose something they never realized they needed. This is the essence of impact. When your words bring clarity, when your silence brings peace, when your actions bring encouragement, you are planting seeds in another person's heart. At first, they may not notice. At first, it may feel subtle. But when you step away, those seeds begin to grow in the soil of absence. They notice the shift. They feel the void. They begin to recognize the difference between what life feels like with your presence and what life feels like without it. That recognition becomes longing. But for this to work, your giving must come from strength, not sacrifice. It must come from overflow, not depletion. If you pour from emptiness, you become resentful, and resentment weakens your energy. But when you fill your own life with purpose, when you feed your mind, your body, and your spirit, you give from a place of abundance. That abundance is magnetic. People do not miss those who drain them. They miss those who fill them. And when you are gone, the lack of that abundance becomes heavy. The secret lies in giving presence, not just presence of body, but presence of soul. Too many people exist half absent, lost in distraction, glued to screens, buried in their own thoughts. But when you are with someone and you choose to be fully there, eyes locked, heart open, mind clear, you separate yourself from the noise of the world. You make them feel significant in a way few ever do. That feeling lingers long after you leave. They do not just remember your words. They remember the way you made them feel seen, valued, alive. And that memory transforms absence into ache. It is not grand gestures that make you unforgettable. It is consistency in the small moments. It is the tone of your voice that carries certainty. It is the patience you show when others rush. It is the kindness you extend without expecting reward. It is the discipline you embody that silently challenges others to rise. These details may seem small, but they accumulate into an experience of you that is impossible to replace. And when that experience is missing, the longing it creates cannot be silenced. So never underestimate The power of how you show up. Every interaction is an opportunity to leave a mark. Every moment is a chance to create a memory that will echo in your absence. Give without fear, love without chains, and live with such depth that your presence is felt even when you are gone. When you master this, you no longer wonder if you'll be missed, because the impact of your giving has already written you into the story of their heart. And stories written with truth never fade. There is a quiet strength in restraint, a power in not giving everything all at once. People tend to believe that being constantly available, constantly present is the way to prove their worth. But the truth is, saturation breeds indifference. When someone has constant access to you, they begin to overlook the very value you bring. Familiarity dulls appreciation, and what once felt special becomes ordinary. If you want to be missed, you must learn the art of creating space, of stepping back just enough for your presence to become rare, for your energy to be recognized as precious. Psychology calls this the scarcity principle. We are drawn to what is rare, what is not easily obtained, what we cannot simply reach for whenever we please. This is not about manipulation. It is